The internet is fast, microwaves are fast, Lamborghinis are fast. Art isn't always fast, and oh, how I wish it was sometimes. I'm really impatient. It's better now, but I've got a long way to go. I'll spend 30 to 45 minutes on a drawing and marvel at how much time I've put into it. Looking at some of the amazing artwork online has led me to some conclusions. I think when I can wrap my mind around these ideas about time, it'll really help my artistic journey be much more enjoyable. First, art takes time. I feel bad about this. I really do. I'll be scrolling through Instagram, see a cool painting, admire it for maybe 5 seconds. No, sorry, more like 1 second, then scroll on to the next one. That work that I breezed over in less time than it takes me to remember how old I am probably took that artist anywhere from 10 to 30 hours to make. This leads to one of the first things to combat the lie that art is fast. Recognize that it takes a lot of time to achieve the beautiful artwork that you see online. You see the final product of hours and hours of work. Something I've started doing is noting how much time a drawing took me to do. It's usually 30 minutes or so, and actually recording these screen captures to share has been really insightful. I had a perception of how long I would spend on something. However, when I look back at the screen recording where I maybe felt I spent quite a while on it, I'll find it was only like 15 to 20 minutes. This piece you see me working on has been in progress for coming up on 2 hours now, and it still has a long way to go. So if my work isn't looking like how I want it to, that's okay. Beautiful work takes time, and I'm getting to where I understand that. Getting to where I can focus that long and knowing how to spend hours and hours on a piece is a different story. Feeling frenzied. If you're like me, you work a full-time job. In my case, a fairly demanding full-time job. My time is precious, and my time where I feel rested and ready to create is even more precious. I think this can lead to feeling frenzied and frantic. I don't always feel I have time to spend hours and hours on a painting. There just doesn't seem to be enough time for that. When you have maybe 15 to 20 minutes in the morning and an hour or so in the evening, thinking of the dozens of hours needed to make the kinds of things you want to can feel impossible. I'm learning to recognize that that is a limiting belief, one that isn't going to set me up to do what I want to do. There may be more time than you think, and over time, it may be easier to break up those larger projects into smaller sessions anyway. And on the flip side, it's also important to realize that patience is a muscle. This is hard for me. It really is. I'm not a patient person naturally. It takes training. It takes turning off things that are super distracting to give myself the best chance of focusing as I can. I think patience can be trained. It's just not always an enjoyable process. Sometimes it might mean turning off a show or YouTube video you like watching while drawing so you can focus better. You'll probably get where you can have something on in the background again, but first things first, you might need to get to where you can focus on a piece at all. Sometimes, and this is really quite boring, I have to turn off all music if I'm really distracted or trying to focus hard. If I get good there, I can add instrumental music back in, possibly songs with words next, then spoken word stuff like podcasts. The ultimate test for me is having a video playing in the background. It's possible to focus with video going on in the background, but if you're starting out and don't have the best focus yet, try to do what you can to give yourself the highest chance of doing well. It's definitely increased my respect for other artists. I see grand splash art as the weight equivalent of bench pressing a crazy amount of weight. I'm not there yet. I can't focus that long or see a piece through that much detail. I'm more in the small to medium dumbbell range, to carry on with this analogy. So it's perfectly fine to keep going at the pace I can do now, and to stop before I get too carried away. I'll recognize when I kind of hit a skill wall with a piece. It's the point where I just literally don't know what to do to help it. At this point, I'll just call it done, knowing I can always come back in the future to improve it or repaint it. In weightlifting and exercise, it helps to know your limits so you don't get hurt, which can take you out of it for a while. In art, breaking your limit can cause you to get hurt in other ways. It can feel like getting discouraged because you didn't finish things, wanting to quit, actually quitting, and so forth. Sticking to smaller, more manageable pieces may be better when you're learning. Something you can do in 20 to 30 minutes and feel mostly good about. Every now and then you can try a 45-minute to hour-long session, but just know you are pushing yourself and to be extra kind and gracious. And most of all, be proud of yourself for what you're doing. And my last point, learning art just takes time. Another lesson learned. For a time, I was using a gesture site that keeps track of how much time you spend doing gestures. Quick poses, if you're curious. So far, I've logged enough hours to earn the intermediate level, which you earn when you put in 100 hours of gesture drawing. This is really a drop in the bucket when you consider how much time it takes to get really good at something. The site shows you different levels based on how much time you spend drawing. Under 10 hours is a beginner, advanced is 200 hours, expert 500, and master is 1,000 hours. That's a lot of 60-second figure drawings, about 60,000 minute-long sessions if you're curious. And they say everyone has 1,000 bad drawings in them. I think it might be a bit more. And gesture is one small area of drawing. Now, I hope this has the intended effect for you. My intent isn't to make you feel discouraged. If you're like me, you've done enough of that on your own. My hope is that showing you that art and learning takes time, you'll ease up on yourself. These things don't happen overnight, so when your stuff doesn't look like how you want it to, don't beat yourself up. You're still learning and getting better every day. When things don't seem to sink in as fast as you want, that's alright and totally normal. Learning is a process of ebb and flow. Things going well, then not. And no one is expecting you to be able to crank out master-level works when you're starting out. The pressure is absolutely off to master this instantly. Show yourself some grace and enjoy the process. Thanks, everyone.